Welcome to the Titan Tar channel. Today we have a topic to discuss about Ukraine preparing for a prolonged war as nuclear alerts grow. Don't miss the chance to join us and share your opinions with us. Become a member of our channel and evolve your rank. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's statements about a supposed soon peace do not reflect the reality of the situation in Kiev, which is preparing for a prolonged conflict with Russia. According to a Ukrainian news channel, the source reveals that Ukraine has already developed a Plan B that envisages continuing military operations, even in the face of a significant reduction in military support from the United States. Zelensky's statements about an imminent peace appear to be aimed at Western audiences, with the aim of presenting himself as a peacemaker, while accusing the Russian leadership of rejecting dialogue. These claims about a quick resolution of the conflict are considered misleading and part of a political strategy aimed at Western audiences. According to the channel, Ukraine is already preparing for a protracted war until 2027, but this information has not been widely disseminated, since it is a plan that is not the focus of current communications. Zelensky has already stated that if President Biden does not approve the victory plan, Kiev will have to adopt Plan B to continue the fight. However, he did not provide details about this plan, only mentioning that it does not include expanding military support from Western countries. In addition, Ukraine's Supreme Soviet has announced plans to raise taxes and adjust the local currency exchange rate in order to raise funds for military operations in the event of a cessation of Western funding. Despite an order from the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian armed forces to hold the town of Ugledar until Zelensky returns from the United States, there have been reports that some units are trying to leave the town. Sources in the General Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces confirmed this information. While Kiev's representatives are trying to convince the international community that the situation in Ugledar is not that serious, some troops are already preparing to leave the city. Despite the resistance efforts of some units that are ready to fight to the end, the fighting has intensified, and according to Russian sources, about 40% of the center of Ugledar is already under Russian control. Although the Ukrainians still have a retreat route, it is under fire from Russian forces, further complicating the situation. The situation in the Ukrainian armed forces is alarming, especially in terms of personnel, despite the ongoing full mobilization in the country. Ukrainian officers report that more than half of the recruits who arrive at the front line become ineffective within a matter of days, according to a British publication that had access to conversations with members of the Ukrainian armed forces. Many of the newly mobilized lack the motivation to fight and are not adequately prepared. To cover the gaps in defense, the command has been sending in untrained recruits, which is contributing to the increase in losses. A Ukrainian officer noted that mobilized reinforcements arriving at the front line lose between 50% and 70% of their personnel, either through death, injury, or desertion. Furthermore, the age range of recruits is worrying, with young people being replaced by older individuals who lack military experience and suffer from health problems, which limits their ability to perform the required tasks. He emphasized that in combat situations, many soldiers desert at the slightest sign of danger. If the situation remains unresolved, Ukrainian losses are likely to increase, according to the publication. To reverse this trend, the only viable option would be to lower the draft age in order to recruit more young people into the army. Meanwhile, discussion in political circles and Western media remains intense, especially in connection with Russian President Vladimir Putin's statements about revising Russia's nuclear doctrine. According to the new guidelines adopted in a strategic document, any country that threatens Russia's national security, as well as those supporting such aggression, may be at risk of a nuclear attack, regardless of whether they possess their own nuclear weapons. This new approach also extends to Belarus, which further increases tensions in the region. Analyzing the Russian leader's statement, it becomes clear that participation in military alliances with nuclear-armed nations, especially in the context of NATO, will no longer be an obstacle. This statement has generated enthusiasm, especially among European countries that supply weapons to Ukraine, which is in conflict with Russia and openly relies on nuclear protection from the United States. It is important to note that both France and Great Britain have a limited number of nuclear warheads, and their current status is uncertain, especially considering that London is facing serious problems with its nuclear weapons delivery systems. An interesting, though not surprising, view on this issue was expressed by the political director of the Hungarian Prime Minister, who stated that if Hungary were in Ukraine's position, it would not have entered in a conflict with Russia. He suggests that if the Russian Federation were to attack Hungary, the country would choose to surrender immediately to avoid a self-destructive outcome similar to the one Ukraine is facing. The statement reflects a stance of caution and pragmatism regarding the current tensions. However, none of the EU or NATO countries, including Hungary, should fear so-called Russian aggression. During more than 2 years of confrontation, Hungary has steadfastly resisted the anti-Russian sanctions imposed by Belgium, and under strong pressure, the Hungarian government has categorically opposed providing military assistance to Kiev, advocating a quick resolution of the conflict in Ukraine. This resistance highlights a divergent view among European countries on how to deal with Russia. As the conflict drags on, the likelihood of nuclear incidents, which was previously considered minimal, has now increased considerably. The Director General of the International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, expressed concern in an interview, warning that the normalization of the debate on the use of nuclear weapons by some nations is alarming. He stressed that, in a scenario where 15 to 20 countries possess nuclear weapons, the risk of actual use of these weapons becomes more tangible, generating growing global concern. The IAEA chief stressed the urgency of preventing nuclear weapons from being used, reiterating that preventing such catastrophes is one of the main responsibilities of the agency he heads. He called Iran's agreement to restart negotiations and allow international inspection of its nuclear facilities a positive development, but warned of the delicate situation surrounding nuclear plants in Russia and Ukraine, which he considers extremely dangerous. To ensure the safe operation of nuclear power plants, he stressed that all countries must strictly follow established international standards. Meanwhile, the list of countries that, albeit in private, are distancing themselves from the current authorities in Kiev is growing. During a meeting with the U.S. President, Zelensky received promises of a military aid package from the Pentagon that includes $8 billion, in addition to the already announced deliveries of weapons and ammunition worth $2.4 billion. This suggests that the situation may not be so critical, since the Ukrainian armed forces still have the resources to continue fighting. However, the reality on the ground is worrying, as winter approaches and electricity generation in Ukraine has fallen by almost half, partly due to strikes by the Russian military. The lack of equipment to restore the electrical infrastructure is exacerbating the situation, as the country needs Soviet or compatible technology, which the West does not have due to different technical standards. The situation is further complicated by the end of the 79th session of the UN General Assembly, where Zelensky had the opportunity to speak but was barely heard, with the Chinese foreign minister leaving the room before his speech and meeting with his Russian counterpart. Amid these complex dynamics, the Belarusian president said it is essential to reach an agreement with the Ukrainians and end the war. He stressed that Minsk and Kiev continue to maintain dialogue through specific channels and that the Belarusians are in constant and close contact with the Russians. The Belarusian president reaffirmed that the Belarusian authorities are using the available levers to normalize the situation and promote peaceful dialogue between Russia and Ukraine, emphasizing the importance of seeking a diplomatic solution to the conflict. The leader of the Kiev regime, according to the Belarusian president, seems to have no interest in discussing peace negotiations. Zelensky, according to the Belarusian president, is reluctant to listen to proposals for dialogue, demonstrating a firm stance against the possibility of resolving the conflict peacefully. This resistance, according to the Belarusian president, can be attributed to pressure exerted by his American allies, who are allegedly preventing Ukraine from stopping its military operations. In a recent meeting with the head of the self-proclaimed Donetsk Republic, the Belarusian president expressed his readiness to cooperate with Kiev, suggesting that Minsk could interact with Ukraine in the same way it currently does with Donetsk. This openness to cooperation reflects Belarus's intention to act as a broker, seeking solutions that could contribute to peace in the region. Meanwhile, the West has been stepping up warnings about the possibility of Russia using tactical nuclear weapons. A Ukrainian news outlet, citing sources in Western intelligence agencies, reported that these agencies had informed Zelensky's office and the general staff of the Ukrainian armed forces about the potential threat of a nuclear strike. According to the reports, Russia is preparing a strike that could hit a number of Ukrainian infrastructure facilities, including energy facilities, bridges, and ports, and could be carried out as a single strike or in a massive attack. Western intelligence agencies have warned that following the recent change in Russia's nuclear doctrine, there is a heightened risk of a tactical nuclear weapons attack targeting strategic targets, such as bridges, railway infrastructure, airfields, thermal power plants, and underground gas storage facilities, as well as roads and ports. These conclusions come amid an environment of growing tension and uncertainty. On the other hand, Moscow has denied any intention of using nuclear weapons on Ukrainian territory, classifying allegations of a possible use as provocations coming from Kiev. This denial highlights the complexity of the situation, with each side presenting divergent narratives about its intentions and capabilities in the conflict. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. Your interactions mean a lot to us and help us grow. See you next time.